Good morning and welcome to Wednesday Web Chat. This is Carl Lewis. I'm your host today, and today's topic is Crystal Reports Tips and Tricks number 1. This will be number 1 in a series of about 4 different ones we'll do over the next few weeks before the end of the year, just with small little tidbits about Crystal Reports. Some general announcements today. You should get this email every week if you're attending this weekly Web Chat. And lots of them talk about our Vision 33 Total Care customer events, like Wednesday Web Chat. Also to let you know that 9.0 is available for upgrade now. So to start that process, you can just click that button, fill out the form that it sends you to, tell us about your system, and we'll start the process of getting you a quotation, letting you know what that will take so that you can begin making plans. We do have a Crystal Reports class coming up, a more extensive Crystal Reports class, a 2-day class that will really help equip you to write your own Crystal Reports, November 6th and 7th in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. If you want to travel across country with me from West Coast to East Coast, you're welcome to do so. It's actually held at a hotel that I stay in Weston, Florida, just outside of Fort Lauderdale. When I travel there, which I'm doing near the first of the month there. And if you're in the region, that southeast region, well, of course, so we hope to take the time to be there for sure. Also, we've created a new Total Care Customer Resources site, so please look to this weekly announcement that comes out each week to stay up to date with events and happenings at Vision 33 that are all about you, our customer. Today, we're going to look at 3 specific things in Crystal Reports. Number 1, getting a connection in Crystal Reports to the SAP Business One database. Number 2, using a query as the basis for a report. And number 3, how to export a Crystal Report to Excel. Right? So without any further ado there, I want to switch over and let you know that I do have Business One open in the background. That will be important for some of the things that we'll look at. I cannot preview a report in Business One in Crystal Reports unless Business One is open with the new Crystal Report integration. Right? This is 9.0, patch level 5, just for your information. Crystal Reports, it should be in your regular menu. I happen to, it is a separate install, the designer, right, for Business One. The viewer is installed in the client automatically, but the designer is a separate installation. So I've got it here in my Start menu in Windows 7. And you can see I'm loading it up on the screen. And I want a new blank report. So this is sort of the default entry screen that comes up. If I click blank report, the system automatically prompts me for a connection. Now I could have previous ones that I want to could use, but I'm going to delete these so that you can see an entirely clean screen and say, if I open Crystal Reports for the first time, this is what it would look like. Now, if you have, there's a couple of things you'll know right away. If what I'm going to show you next shows up in your system, you have Crystal Reports installed correctly and the integration to SAP Business One installed correctly. If this new SAP Business One connection does not show up in the list, there's something missing and you should be contacting your regional general manager or professional services director to get the integration installed. So here it is. Under Create a New Connection, you click the button and you want to look for SAP Business One, right? That means you've got the integration connected properly. And this screen, as soon as you click on the plus sign, will open. It'll have the name of your server, the address in the system for your license server, and you need to be sure that you pick what type of SQL you have, 2008, or in my case, it is SQL 2012. And 9.0 is compatible with SQL 2012. Now when I click on Company Database, provided SQL's running, of course, it'll give me a list of all of my databases from which to choose from where I'm going to generate this report. In my case, I only have one demo database. The company user ID, this is my login to SAP Business One. It is not my SQL login. It is my SAP Business One login, which in my case is just manager, and my password happens to be Vision 33. And you'll notice I don't need any information here. I can just click Finish, and this will take a second. And there you'll notice that I now have a connection, and I get that because it gives me this little cube and a pigtail, like I'm electrically plugged in to this database, right? So here's my server name, and you'll see down below, here's my database name, right? Now another thing that I want to point out to you is that up here, another way to validate that I have the integration installed correctly is I'll have this add-ins menu at the top of the screen in the ribbon, right? I can't open it, but I'll show you some of that later. If that word add-ins does not show up, that's another indicator that I might not have the integration piece installed that sort of hooks Crystal Reports up more directly with SAP Business One, the way it's intended for us. Once I have this connection established, now I get to pick tables, fields that I want to include in my report. So I'm going to show you, first off, without using a query, how I get a simple report with a couple of tables. Now what this new connection type does for you, SAP Business One, is under Tables, B1 Tables, you'll notice that this menu looks a lot like another menu that I'll show you in SAP Business One, right? So Administration, Financial, Sales Opportunities in Business One. If I go back to Crystal Reports, Administration, Financial, Sales Opportunities. So if I know where to find information in SAP Business One in the menu, I know how to find it in Crystal Reports. That's the intent, at least. It's a little more complex than that, but that's aiming you in the right direction, at least. So, for instance, in this report that I want to do something really simple, I want business partners. I want business partner master data, and I want to use this field, this table, because I know that is OCRD is the customer master data. So I'm going to choose that table, OCRD, right? I am going to also want information about the salesperson on each account. Not too far. I know that when I set up salespeople, I do it under Administration, Setup, General, and there I believe it's OSLP, my salesperson's table. And so I bring that over. Now there are ways, by the way, of adding additional information to this screen, right? Let's see if I can find it. Here we go. I'm going to click. I right-clicked in that little left screen here, right? Right here, in this screen, I right-clicked, chose Options, and I want to say Show Both. Show the name and show the description, right? And so I probably will have to log back in here to get it to show you what I mean. But rather than giving me just the table name, it'll give me a description also. So we'll come back to that here. I'm going to say Cancel. We're going to go back, create a new connection, just so you can see what that does for me, right? I'll have to do it this way now. And you'll notice that the names are now alongside. So for OCRD, which is I've selected to be a part of my report, that's where the business partner data is selected, right? If I wanted business partner addresses, that's CRD1, right? Things like that. And if I go back up and look at my administration, OSLP, I see that that's sales employee. So I've selected business partners master data and salesperson's data to put in this little quick report. Right? Once I say OK, I've selected my tables. Now over here in the Field Explorer, under Database Fields, I see those two tables. Now in this way of doing it, I have every field available to me in that OCRD table. That's a lot of fields. Right? I don't need them all, but I do want the card code. So I'm going to take card code, and I'm going to drag it over here into the Details section. And I want the name of this business partner in my report. Oh, I'm probably going to call them, so I'm going to want their phone number. The other thing that I want is, at this point, I want my salesperson now. So now I have to switch to my salesperson table, and Crystal Reports has done the join for me, so it knows how to keep them related. And instead of the code, I want to actually bring the name field in, right, to here. And then I want to go back to my business partner master data, and I want to see if I can find this customer's outstanding balance. There it is right there. So I can bring the balance in, put it right at the end of my report. Looks like I could use some more room in my report. So I'm going to select the salesperson's name, make it a little shorter, and try to slide my account balance over there, right? So now I've got those 4 fields. Now, what does this little menu do for me in the integration to SAP Business One and Crystal Reports? It allows me to preview this report in SAP Business One, to save it as a report in Business One, or save it on top of itself in Business One. I'm just going to preview it for the moment, right? So this external command will come up, and there's my report out of SAP Business One, right? Give me that data. Now, if I want to preview it otherwise, I can always do a view, print preview, and get the same data without having to do it in the add-in for Business One. So that's a way that you would do it with by using the tables. Now, what if I wanted to do it differently? What if I wanted to use an existing query that I already have in Business One, right? So I'm going to say File, New Standard Report, right? Now, if I go back to the top here of my data connection, you'll notice I have something called Add Command. I have no table selected in this new report, right, that's going to be here. No tables, but I want to use a command. So I double-click on Add Command. Now I'm going to go over to Business One. In Business One, I have a lot of queries. Now, I don't have a lot of them in my demo database, but I've got one. Right? So under Queries, I have my Query Manager, and I have one under General called BP Balance Query. If I double-click on it, you'll notice, I'll make it bigger for you, that it has everything that I just put into that report. It has the business partner code, the business partner name, the telephone, it has the sales employee name, and it has the account balance, right? Everything that I need. So if I want to use that as a command and not have to pick every field in that OCRD table to sort and look through, how would I use it? I would run the query just as I did. I'd click this pencil, and I would select this or everything in the query, right, and say Copy. And now I go back to my Crystal report. I right-click here in the box and say Paste, right? Now, there are advanced skills to add parameters and other things here, but this is a basic way to use any query you already have in Business One as the basis for a Crystal report. Then I say OK. Right. Now I say Finish. I have a new report. I'll go to Design View, right? I don't want these print dates. I'm going to take those out at this point. And now if I go to my database fields, I have a table, one table, that is a temporary table, runs just when this report runs, called Command. Notice, instead of having all those fields like I had in OCRD and in SLP in my other report, which is still out here, by the way, right, in Report 1, if I go back to Design View, this is the OCRD. Look at all these fields that it brought over that I don't really need. And OSLP, it brought over less, but still I don't need those, right? In my new report, Report 2, I only have these. So what fields do I need in my report? I need card code. I need card name. And this dragging them, by the way, it's the way I do it. You can double-click. There's other ways to get things into your report, right? Notice they're already in the right order for me, too, which is really kind of handy. I'm going to stick balance right there, okay? So I can do the same thing now, right? View, print preview. And there's my report, all from a query, right? Pretty nice, not a problem. I got just one balance, you know, for every business partner there, and I can actually take it now, add-ins, SAP Business One, and I can preview this report. Show me what it'll look like in the viewer in Business One, right? So that's a really fast little illustration of how you can take a query, get a database connection, maybe use tables, but if you want to use a query that you already have, because the data's there, you can get it. Now you'll notice I need to make a little modification on my report here, so I can go back to Crystal and say, you know what, I just discovered that in my preview in Business One, I need more room. So I want to make this balance field a little bigger, and I can just kind of drag it over here like that. And then if I go to Add-ins, SAP Business One, Preview in Business One, let's see what happens now to my preview. Oh, all mine, I gave it enough space, right? So now I could save it, and it would be an ongoing report. But I've done this in a particular way on purpose, because I get the question periodically, how do I use a Crystal report and export it to Excel and not have any, you know, funky stuff in the header or the lines or anything like that? Will you do it just as we did it, right? So let's say that I have this report. Notice I have nothing in the header, right? I've got nothing in the report footer. I'm just squeezing these all up as tightly as I can, right? It'll let me do the page footer. There we go. I think it's about as good as I can get all the way up. So I don't want any extraneous stuff coming over in my report. Now, I'm going to treat it like it's in Business One. So I'm going to say, I'm going to preview it in Business One. And in Business One, I have some other functionality. Notice there's no header, there's no footer, it's just data, right? So when I want to take this, I remember where my button is, export. There's the export button. Let me slide this over so you can see it, right? Export. I hit export, and I choose Excel. Here's Excel to the 97 to 2003, right? So I can do that, or I can do a different type of format, or Crystal, or PDF, or XML. But I'm going to choose Excel, right? And I'll call it, how about BP Balance List 2, in case I already have one out there. And I'll put it in my Documents folder, right? Save. It's exported and completed. Now, I'm going to go out to my Documents folder. And let's see if I have one out here called BP Balance List 2. There it is. Double-click, and open it on my other screen. Let me bring that over. Here it is. And you'll notice I have no extraneous data in the header, the footer. It doesn't give me grid lines by default, but each one of these numbers, you can see them changing here, right, are in a separate cell. So by putting only detail in my Crystal report, I can use it as an export to Excel and have it show up very cleanly, right? So I could do that with a P&L type report, a balance sheet, anything that I wanted to do. I could bring that data over very cleanly into Crystal and export it into Excel. And if I didn't have it cleanly, I could create another copy of my report and delete the header, the footer, all the formatting, just bring it over as straight text in the detail section, and that will export very cleanly to Excel. So those are 3 or 4 pretty simple little tricks about Crystal reports that we wanted to share with you today. And I'll have other tips and tricks about Crystal reports in the weeks ahead. Won't necessarily do them week after week after week, because as most of you know, I'm not always around like that. But when I'm here, that's one of the things that I'll be working on with you. I believe that next week we start one of our typical year-end series on financial processing. And Mike Hodge will be doing 3 or 4 consecutive sessions on things like, how to close a month, how to close the year, and things of that nature that are always 1099s, things that always come up sort of as we head towards the end of the year. So he'll have those available for you. I want to check now and see if I had any questions from today. If you have any, this is a really good time to type them in the question box. As always, these sessions are recorded, and this will be posted online in a few days, probably within a week. So you would be able to check back and review these tips and tricks at a later time, if you like. So I don't see any questions. I'm going to try to keep these Crystal reports, tips and tricks kind of short, rather than going on for an hour, because it's hard to capture them without being able to practice them yourself. If you do notice, by the way, that your Crystal reports installation is not complete, as we talked about, you don't have the SAP Business One connection. Now this applies only if you're on 8.8 or later. 2007 is an entirely different situation. But if you are on 8.8 or later and don't have this add-ons functionality in Crystal reports, and or don't have the special SAP Business One data connection, please, I would send in a service call and let us know that you could use some help to get your Crystal reports installation cleaned up a bit, and we will help you. Alrighty, I don't see any questions for today. I see several of you out here. A couple of you have taken the class before, so I hope this was a bit of a good review as well. And next time, we'll be here next week, same time, same place, and hope to see many of you then. Oh, I did see one question. Let's see. Where do we send our service for that SAP connectivity? Yep, just send it to support@vision-33.com and let them know you just want someone to check out your Crystal reports installation and integration to SAP Business One. And we'll be glad to make sure that it's done properly. All righty? Because it's a lot easier if you have the tools, right? Very good. Thanks much. We'll see you all very, very good soon, I hope. All right? Bye-bye for today.